down here in Baja with my brand new Polaris RZR Pro R. And I'm going to walk you guys through some of my favorite things I like about this car. One of my favorite things, I guess, or not guess, one of my favorite things is a single cruise at 90, 95 miles an hour down the roads. We've done very little to this vehicle. One of the things we've done as far as changing things is wheel and tire package, Yokohama tires, method wheels. They've held up great. I've got a really big dinger in the back, and the wheel held up great. And I deserved a flat and a broken wheel, but it didn't happen. You're just walking around the thing. We have factory UTV, did a skid plate for us, rush job, so those are available for everyone now. Other than that, we've got the seats, our stock seat belts, Simpson seat belts, the full setup in here with the air pumper, the radio, the intercom, all that stuff from Rugged. Now we're running our iPad with the lead nav. That's running through the intercom, so it talks to us in our helmets. Spare tire rack, the toolbox, all that is all factory Polaris stuff. This thing's been fantastic right out of the box, so it's a lot of fun. So people often ask me, like, how much better is this than the other Polaris models and stuff like that, and it's hard to put a percentage on it, but one thing that is for sure is they went beefy on everything. Everything is like the XL version. It's boxed A-arms, boxed trailing arms. It's 104.5-inch wheelbase on this thing, 29 inches of wheel travel, and it just cruises down the roads here in Baja, through all the whoops, through everything. We are just cruising at 95 miles an hour today. Just you almost get bored. Just all the hardware on this thing is beefier. It's all 14mm hardware. Pretty awesome. One wrench will take off every suspension bolt. All your A-arm pivot bolts, your shock pivots, all the trailing arm pivots is all 21mm. Really? So one wrench does it all. Performance-wise, this thing has 29 inches of wheel travel, which is completely new to the UTV world. And it's usable travel. It's not travel with the car burying itself in the dirt. You can see in the back shocks there's a lot of travel we haven't even used yet. It's just been a ton of fun. The 104.5-inch wheelbase is just awesome. It's still nimble and stuff and works great through the bumps, but it's not extra long or extra big where you can't just bob and weave through all the rocks and cactus and everything else. It's just been a blast. It's wise, the 4-cylinder motor is definitely a huge improvement. Naturally aspirated, but the thing cruised, today we had 106, and it is bone stock. We removed the speed limiter, that's all we did. So some of the big improvements that I noticed on this vehicle right away when we first got it was sway bars, front and rear, are almost identical to what we use on our race cars right now. And this UTV comes stock with it. The rear it's a full solid bar. It's the same thing we use on our current race UTV. The rear has a tow link running through the rear trailing arm, and it keeps the travel going straight all the way through, so it keeps the tow going the same direction the whole time. So you really notice the performance going through the bumps and stuff. The thing is just stable. One of my favorite things is the alternator. The alternator is awesome. The thing puts out, I think, 140 amps. So you can run all your accessories you want, and you have no issues. You don't have to worry about the battery going dead or anything like that. Previous model RZRs have always been two-piece chassis as far as a front part of the chassis bolts to the rear part of the chassis, and the cage all bolts together on that. So this cage is solid all the way through front to back, and it bolts down to the chassis, and the chassis is solid all the way front to back. So it's a one-piece chassis. So it increases the rigidity and everything on the car, and you can really feel the performance of this car going through the bumps and all that stuff. It's just a whole nother level. They came out with a dynamic shock that is not only controlled by dynamics on the compression side, it's also controlled the rebound valving as well. So when you're coming into turns, when you're throwing it into a turn, if you're going left, it's stiffening up the outside corners, and it's also stiffening the rebound on the inside corners, so the car doesn't want to roll over. So you can just rail the thing through the turns right now. And it has a pitch and yaw sensor on there. It has a sensor for the steering, for the brake, and speed control. So it senses all those different things, and I think it adjusts the shocks over 100 times per second. So it's ultra fast and it just works so good. For Polaris is the different driving modes, and there's 3 different modes on this car. There's race, so all the way up. There's rock, and then there's sport. So race all the way up, I kind of find it's a little bit too sensitive for me for technical driving. I like to have really good throttle control. Rock is awesome for like rock crawling and stuff like that. And then sport is where I've been driving the thing mostly. I have a really good control on it. The rock though, like going through like Fred's tractor trail, I put the thing in comfort on the suspension, and then I put the thing in rock mode going through that whole trail. And it just floats like a butterfly going through everything. And it's not like snapping and jerking you around. It's just like a spider going through the rocks. The suspension levels, or the suspension modes, is Baja, then we have rocks, then we have track, and then we have comfort. So comfort is awesome through the rocks and everything, as far as like really getting like all the choppy rocks when we're down here in Baja. And then the rock mode, like rock crawling, it really controls the suspension, holds it down. Track mode is awesome on like the high-speed drifting roads, like up around Mike's Sky Ranch and stuff. The thing just, you can throw it around the turns. And then, ironically, Baja mode is freaking awesome. On the Pro R is the beefy suspension. It's all boxed A-arms, and the shock is now attached to the bottom A-arm. It's a longer shock, and it's a 3.0 shock. Something we've been asking for years, and now it comes stock.
What is your favorite thing about this car?
I guess to say my favorite thing about this car is I get to drive.